The twin suns of the Ilari system were setting in perfect symmetry, their fading light stretching across the smooth white hull of the diplomatic vessel Serenity Dawn. The ship drifted silently through the void, its engines humming so softly they were almost part of the silence itself. Inside, everything was calm. Soft blue light lined the curved corridors. The air carried a faint floral scent, carefully designed to soothe the mind. Every surface was polished, every edge rounded. Nothing sharp, nothing aggressive. This was not a ship built for war. It was built for peace. Ambassador Lara Valen stood near the observation glass, her hands folded behind her back as she watched the stars slide slowly past. Her reflection hovered faintly in the transparent surface. Pale silver skin, luminous eyes, and the faint glow that marked her as one of the Illyrians. A peaceful species. A trusting species. A species that had not fought a war in over 400 years. Behind her, the bridge crew worked in quiet harmony. No raised voices. No tension. Just gentle conversation and precise movements. Estimated arrival in Illyrian space in 6 hours, said Navigator Pelles, his voice soft and steady. Lyra nodded without turning. Thank you. 6 hours. 6 hours until she would stand before the High Council and deliver the news that no one wanted to hear. The negotiations had failed. 3 months of diplomacy with the Dravari Dominion. 3 months of patience, compromise, and carefully chosen words. And still, the answer had been the same. War. The Dravari had not even tried to hide their contempt. You mistake kindness for strength, their warlord had said. That will be your extinction. Lyra exhaled slowly, pushing the memory away. They do not understand us, she murmured, almost herself. From the command platform, Captain Orensolar's glanced back at her. Unlike most Illyrians, there was a faint edge to him, something sharper beneath the calm. Or perhaps, he said carefully, they understand us perfectly. Lyra turned slightly, studying him. You think we are weak. I think, Oren replied, choosing his words, that we have forgotten what it means to be strong. Silence settled between them again. Not uncomfortable, just thoughtful. Beyond the glass, the stars stretched endlessly, cold, distant, indifferent. For centuries, the Illyrians had believed that intelligence, empathy, and cooperation were the highest forms of strength. They had built alliances, not armies. They had solved conflict with words, not weapons. And for a long time, it had worked. Ambassador, came a gentle voice from the sensor station. Lyra turned. Yes, Turin. The young officer hesitated for just a fraction of a second. A small hesitation, barely noticeable, but enough. I'm picking up minor fluctuations ahead, he said. Probably nothing, just background radiation distortions. Lyra's expression remained calm, but something subtle shifted behind her eyes. Define minor, Captain Oren said. Turin adjusted his controls. Scanning again. It's inconsistent, he admitted. Faint movement patterns. Could be debris or residual energy signatures from an old transit corridor. Oren frowned slightly. This sector isn't a major route. I know, Turin said. That's why it's strange. Lyra stepped closer to the central display. The stars ahead looked the same as always. Still, silent, empty, and yet, run a deeper scan, she said quietly. Turin nodded, fingers moving faster now. The soft hum of the ship continued. The calm remained, but something had changed. It was subtle, like the moment before a storm breaks, when the air is still, but the world feels like it's holding its breath. Ambassador, Turin's voice came again, lower this time. Lyra didn't look away from the stars. Yes. The sensor display flickered. Numbers began to update, patterns forming, movement becoming clearer. It's not debris, he said. A pause, a longer one this time. Then, it's ships. The words seemed to echo in the quiet bridge. Captain Oren straightened slightly. How many? Turin swallowed. His eyes widened as the scan completed. I'm not sure yet, he said. They are still filed, but they are moving fast. Lyra felt something cold settle in her chest. Not fear, not yet, just certainty. The kind that arrived before the mind catches up. She looked back out at the stars. They no longer felt peaceful. They felt watchful, Keep scanning, she said calmly. But her voice had changed, just slightly, enough for everyone on the bridge to notice. The calm was still there, but now it had cracks, and somewhere in the darkness ahead, something was coming. The bridge grew quieter, not the peaceful quiet from before, but the kind that comes when every mind is focused on the same unknown. The sensor display sharpened. Blips formed where there had been nothing, faint at first, then multiplying, enhancing resolution. Turin said, his fingers moving rapidly now. The calm rhythm from earlier was gone, replaced by urgency. The holographic field expanded, projecting a three-dimensional map of the space ahead. At first, it still didn't make sense. Then the system finished processing, and everything snapped into place. Dots became shapes. Shapes became ships. Dark, angular, moving in formation. Fast. Captain Orin leaned forward slightly. Range. Closing rapidly, Turin replied. They'll be within visual distance in less than 2 minutes. Lyra's gaze hardened, her reflection in the glass now steady and still. Identification. Turin hesitated. That hesitation again. But this time, it wasn't small. He swallowed. I'm cross-referencing, but the signatures are... He stopped, because the answer had just appeared. The system highlighted the incoming vessels in red. A name flashed across the display. And for the first time since the journey began, someone on the bridge felt real fear. Ambassador, Turin whispered. Lyra turned. Say it. A beat. Then, Dravari warships. The words landed like a shockwave. Captain Orin stood up slowly. How many? Turin's hands trembled slightly as he adjusted the scan, widening the field. More signals appeared. Not one squad. Not two. A full strike formation. 12 confirmed, he said. Silence. Heavy. Absolute. 12. Not patrol. Not coincidence. An execution. They were waiting for us, Orin said quietly. Lyra didn't respond immediately. Her mind was already moving ahead. Calculating. Understanding. This is neutral space, she said at last. But even as she spoke the words, they felt meaningless. The Dravari did not respect treaties. They respected power. And right now, power was heading straight toward them. Visual contact in 10 seconds, Turin reported. The stars ahead shifted.
What had once been empty darkness now rippled with movement. And then, they appeared. 12 warships slid out of the void like predators emerging from deep water. They were nothing like Illyrian vessels. No smooth curves. No harmony. Only function. Only violence. Their hulls were jagged, layered with armor plating that looked more like scars than design. Weapon arrays lined their surfaces. Long, brutal cannons glowing faintly with stored energy. They didn't glide. They advanced. Like hunters closing in. Lyra felt it then. Not just fear. Something deeper. A realization. This wasn't an encounter. This was a hunt. Ambassador, Orin said carefully. Orders. Before she could respond, the communication console lit up. An incoming signal. Unencrypted. Direct. Turin looked at her. Lyra gave a small nod. Put it through. The bridge lights dimmed slightly as the transmission activated. A face appeared. Harsh. Grey-skinned. Eyes like burning coals. A Dravari commander. When he spoke, his voice carried no urgency. No emotion. Only certainty. Illyrian vessel, he said. You have entered your final moments. No greeting. No negotiation. Just a statement. Lyra stepped forward. I am Ambassador Lyra Valen of the Illyrian Council. This convoy is under diplomatic protection. You are violating. You mistake your position, the commander interrupted. His lips curled slightly, not quite a smile. Protection implies someone is capable of enforcing it. The bridge went still. Every word was a weapon. You will power down your engines, he continued. Lower your shields. Prepare to be boarded. Orin's jaw tightened. And if we refuse? He asked. The Dravari commander's eyes flicked toward him. Cold. Amused. Then we will demonstrate, he said, why your species should have learned to fight before it was too late. The transmission cut. Instantly. No warning. No delay. Energy spike. Turan shouted. The Dravari ships lit up. Weapons charging. 12 warships. All at once. Lyra's heart pounded, but her voice remained steady. Raise shields. Shields up. Orin snapped. A second later. The first shot hit. A beam of crimson energy tore through space, slamming into the Serenity Dawn with terrifying force. The entire ship shuddered. Lights flickered. The calm was gone. Impact confirmed. Turan called out. Shields holding, but barely. Another beam followed. Then another. The void erupted into violence. Explosions of light. Shockwaves rippling across invisible barriers. The Illyrian convoy, small, fragile, was suddenly surrounded by fire. They're targeting the escorts, someone shouted. Lyra turned just in time to see it. One of the smaller ships, Luminous Path, took a direct hit. Its shields collapsed instantly. The second shot tore through its hull. For a split second, it hung there, broken. Then, it exploded. A silent bloom of fire in the darkness. Gone. Just like that. No, Lyra whispered. But there was no time. No space to process. Because the Dravari fleet kept advancing. Closer. Tighter. Encircling them. Like wolves closing in on something already bleeding. Ambassador, Orin said, his voice tight now. We cannot outrun them. Another explosion lit the void. Another escort damaged. Drifting. Dying. Lyra stared at the tactical display. 12 warships. Perfect formation. No hesitation. No mercy. And suddenly, the truth became unavoidable. They weren't here to capture. They weren't here to negotiate. They were here to erase. The bridge grew quieter. Not the peaceful quiet from before, but the kind that comes when every mind is focused on the same unknown. The sensor display sharpened. Blips formed where there had been nothing. Faint at first. Then multiplying. Enhancing resolution, Turan said, his fingers moving rapidly now. The calm rhythm from earlier was gone, replaced by urgency. The holographic field expanded, projecting a three-dimensional map of the space ahead. At first, it still didn't make sense. Then the system finished processing. And everything snapped into place. Dots became shapes. Shapes became ships. Dark. Angular. Moving in formation. Fast. Captain Orin leaned forward slightly. Range. Closing rapidly, Turan replied. They'll be within visual distance in less than 2 minutes. Lyra's gaze hardened, her reflection in the glass now steady and still. Identification. Turan hesitated. That hesitation again. But this time, it wasn't small. He swallowed. I'm cross-referencing, but the signatures are. He stopped. Because the answer had just appeared. The system highlighted the incoming vessels in red. A name flashed across the display. And for the first time since the journey began, someone on the bridge felt real fear. Ambassador, Turan whispered. Lyra turned. Say it. Them. A beat. Then. Dravari warships. The words landed like a shockwave. Captain Orin stood up slowly. How many? Turan's hands trembled slightly as he adjusted the scan, widening the field. More signals appeared. Not one squad. Not 2. A full strike formation. 12 confirmed, he said. Silence. Heavy. Absolute. 12. Not patrol. Not coincidence. An execution. They were waiting for us, Orin said quietly. Lyra didn't respond immediately. Her mind was already moving ahead. Calculating. Understanding. This is neutral space, she said at last. But even as she spoke the words, they felt meaningless. The Dravari did not respect treaties. They respected power. And right now, power was heading straight toward them. Visual contact in 10 seconds, Turan reported. The stars ahead shifted. What had once been empty darkness now rippled with movement. And then, they appeared. 12 warships slid out of the void like predators emerging from deep water. They were nothing like Illyrian vessels. No smooth curves. No harmony. Only function. Only violence. Their hulls were jagged, layered with armor plating that looked more like scars than design. Weapon arrays lined their surfaces, long, brutal cannons glowing faintly with stored energy. They didn't glide. They advanced. Like hunters closing in. Lyra felt it then. Not just fear. Something deeper. A realization. This wasn't an encounter. This was a hunt. Ambassador, Orin said carefully. Orders. Before she could respond, the communication console lit up. An incoming signal. Unencrypted. Direct. Turin looked at her. Lyra gave a small nod. Put it through. The bridge lights dimmed slightly as the transmission activated. A face appeared. Harsh. Grey-skinned. Eyes like burning coals. A Dravari commander. When he spoke, his voice carried no urgency. No emotion. Only certainty. Illyrian vessel, he said. You have entered your final moments. No greeting. No negotiation. Just a statement. Lyra stepped forward. I am Ambassador Lyra Valen of the Illyrian Council. This convoy is under diplomatic protection. You are violating. You mistake your position, the commander interrupted. His lips curled slightly, not quite a smile. Protection implies someone is capable of enforcing it. The bridge went still. Every word was a weapon. You will power down your engines, he continued. Lower your shields. Prepare to be boarded. Orin's jaw tightened. And if we refuse? He asked. The Dravari commander's eyes flicked toward him. Cold. Amused. Then we will demonstrate, he said, why your species should have learned to fight before it was too late. The transmission cut. Instantly. No warning. No delay. Energy spike. Turin shouted. The Dravari ships lit up. Weapons charging. 12 warships. All at once. Lyra's heart pounded, but her voice remained steady. Raise shields. Shields up. Orin snapped. A second later. The first shot hit. A beam of crimson energy tore through space, slamming into the Serenity Dawn with terrifying force. The entire ship shuddered. Lights flickered. The calm was gone. Impact confirmed. Turin called out. Shields holding, but barely. Another beam followed. Then another. The void erupted into violence. Explosions of light. Shockwaves rippling across invisible barriers. The Illyrian convoy, small, fragile, was suddenly surrounded by fire. They're targeting the escorts, someone shouted. Lyra turned just in time to see it. One of the smaller ships, Luminous Path, took a direct hit. Its shields collapsed instantly. The second shot tore through its hull. For a split second, it hung there, broken. Then, it exploded. A silent bloom of fire in the darkness. Gone. Just like that. No, Lyra whispered. But there was no time. No space to process. Because the Dravari fleet kept advancing. Closer. Tighter. Encircling them. Like wolves closing in on something already bleeding. Ambassador, Orin said, his voice tight now. We cannot outrun them. Another explosion lit the void. Another escort damaged. Drifting. Dying. Lyra stared at the tactical display. 12 warships. Perfect formation. No hesitation. No mercy. And suddenly, the truth became unavoidable. They weren't here to capture. They weren't here to negotiate. They were here to erase. The second escort ship died slower. It didn't explode right away. It suffered. Lyra watched a silver halo tried to break formation, its engines flaring desperately as it veered away from the incoming fire. For a brief moment, just a moment, it looked like it might escape. Then 3 Dravari ships adjusted in perfect sync. Their weapons fired together. The beams struck from different angles. Precision, not chaos. The first hit shattered the ship's shields. The second punched through its midsection. The third finished it. The vessel split apart, fragments spinning into the void like broken glass. No sound. No warning. Just, gone. 2 escorts down, Turin said, his voice hollow. No one responded. There was nothing to say. Return fire, Captain Orin ordered. It wasn't confidence. It was instinct. The Serenity Dawn's defensive emitters lit up, releasing pale blue pulses toward the nearest Dravari ship. The beams struck. Faded. Disappeared. No damage. Not even a flicker. Turin stared at his readings in disbelief. They didn't even register it. Orin's expression tightened. Again. More shots. More impact. Nothing. The Dravari ships didn't dodge. Didn't react. They simply kept coming. Like the attacks meant nothing. Because to them, they didn't. Another impact rocked the Serenity Dawn. Harder this time. The deck trembled beneath Lyra's feet. Shields at 60%. Turin called out. Lyra gripped the edge of the command console. Her mind raced, but every path led to the same conclusion. They were outmatched. Completely. Try to break through their formation, she said. Full thrust, Vector 7. Orin didn't argue. Engines to maximum. The ship surged forward. For a moment. It felt like movement. Like escape. Then the Dravari formation shifted. Effortlessly. 2 ships moved ahead. Closed in from the sides. The path vanished before it even existed. They're predicting us, Orin said. No, Turin corrected quietly. They're controlling us. Another blast hit. The lights dimmed sharply. Shields at 40%. Across the display, the remaining escorts were struggling. Quiet Horizon was venting atmosphere, spinning slowly as its engines failed. Falling Star tried to shield it, and took a direct hit for its effort. The explosion swallowed both ships. A chain of light. Then darkness. Lyra's breath caught. 4 ships. Gone. In less than a minute. Distress signal sent, the communications officer said, voice shaking. All frequencies. Priority 1. Response. Orin asked. A pause. Too long. None. Lyra closed her eyes briefly. How far to the nearest patrol? 6 hours, came the answer. 6 hours. They wouldn't last 6 minutes. Another impact slammed into the hull. Shields at 25%. The ship groaned under the pressure. The elegant structure never meant to endure this kind of assault. This wasn't war. This was execution. The communication channel lit up again. The Dravari commander returned. This time. He was smiling. You see now, he said calmly. This is the difference between your kind and mine. Lyra stepped forward despite everything. You're attacking unarmed diplomats. Yes. No hesitation. No shame. Because you are easy to kill. The words hit harder than any weapon. You believe in peace, he continued. You believe that makes you better. His eyes narrowed. It makes you extinct. Behind Lyra, another explosion tore through what remained of the convoy. The last escort ship. Gone. Now there was only one. The Serenity Dawn. Alone. Surrounded. Ambassador, Orin said quietly. She didn't turn. Status. Shields at 10%, he replied. Weapons ineffective. Engines, holding, but not for long. A pause. Then. There are no viable escape options. The words settled heavily over the bridge. No one argued. Because everyone already knew. Lyra stared at the stars. They no longer looked beautiful. They looked empty. Cold. Indifferent. All her life, she had believed that understanding could overcome violence. That reason could defeat cruelty. That if you reached out with open hands, others would do the same. But the Dravari had answered open hands with fire. And now, her people were going to pay the price. The commander's voice returned. Quieter now. Almost patient. This is your final offer, he said. Power down your systems. Submit. A beat. Or die. The transmission ended. Silence filled the bridge. Not calm. Not peaceful. Just final. Orin looked at her. Not as a captain. Not as a subordinate. But as someone waiting for truth. What are your orders? He asked. Lyra didn't answer immediately. Her hands trembled slightly, just once, before becoming still again. She looked around the bridge. At her crew. At the people who had trusted her. Who had believed in the same ideals. Who were now moments away from death. Because of those ideals. Her voice, when it came, was soft. Prepare to. Ambassador. Turin's voice cut through the moment like a blade. Everyone turned. The sensor display was changing again. A new signal. Fast. Very fast. Coming from the outer edge of the system. Lyra's heart stopped. Another Dravari ship? Orin asked. Turin shook his head slowly. No. His eyes were locked on the readings. Confused. Uncertain. Signature is wrong. Explain. I can't, he said. It doesn't match any known design. The object streaked across the display. Faster than anything they had seen. Heading straight toward them. Toward the battlefield. Size? Orin demanded. Small, Turin replied. Single vessel. A beat. Then. Possibly a freighter. Silence. One small ship. Against 12 warships. Lyra felt something strange rise in her chest. Not hope. Not yet. Just. Something unfamiliar. Can you identify origin? She asked. Turin zoomed in further, scanning the energy signature. For a moment. Nothing. Then. His expression changed. Wait. He leaned closer. Rechecking. Then again. As if he didn't trust what he was seeing. Ambassador. His voice dropped. I think. A pause. Then. It's human. The word lingered in the air. Human. No one spoke for a moment. Not because they didn't understand it. But because they did. Lyra slowly turned back toward the main display. A human ship. Orin said. Uncertain. Out here. Turin nodded, still scanning. The energy signature is unstable, asymmetrical. It doesn't follow standard galactic design patterns. That's not reassuring, Orin muttered. Lyra's gaze remained fixed on the approaching signal. Humans. A young species. Unpredictable. Violent, according to most records. Survivors of a world so hostile that life itself had been a constant war. She had read about them. Heard the stories. But stories weren't always truth. And even if they were, what could one small ship do against this? Another violent tremor shook the Serenity Dawn. Shields at 5%. Turin shouted. The ship groaned again, lights flickering dangerously. They didn't have time. They had nothing. The Dravari ships were closing in tighter now, tightening their formation like a tightening fist. This was the end. Lyra exhaled slowly. Her mind settled. Clarity through inevitability. Captain Orin, she said quietly. Yes, Ambassador. Prepare to power down all systems. The words landed like a final breath. Around her, the crew went still. No one protested. No one argued. Because deep down, they already knew. This was survival. Or what little of it remained. Orin hesitated. Just for a fraction of a second. Then nodded. Understood. His hand moved toward the control panel. One command. And it would be over. The ship. The mission. Their freedom. Everything. Wait. The voice came from Turin. Sharp. Urgent. Ambassador, new update. Lyra turned. The unknown ship had entered visual range. And now, they could see it. It wasn't impressive. Not sleek. Not elegant. Not terrifying. Just functional. A grey, blocky vessel with visible repair patches across its hull. Scorch marks lined its surface, as if it had seen more battles than it should have survived. It looked like a working ship. A cargo hauler. Out of place. Outmatched. That's it. Orin said under his breath. Turan shook his head slowly. I don't understand. Its velocity is too high for its mass. And its power output. Another tremor cut him off. Shields failing, someone shouted. The barrier around the Serenity Dawn flickered violently. They had seconds. At most. The communication console lit up again. Incoming transmission. Not Dravari. Unknown source. Lyra stared at it. Then, put it through. The channel opened. A voice filled the bridge. Calm. Steady. Controlled. This is Captain Elias Vaughn of the independent vessel Iron Shade. A slight pause. Then, Illyrian convoy, do you require assistance? The words felt almost unreal. Lyra stepped forward instinctively. Captain Vaughn, this is Ambassador Lyra Valen. You need to leave immediately. This area is under hostile control. You will be destroyed. There was a brief silence. Then, yeah, the human replied. I figured. Something about his tone. It wasn't fear. It wasn't panic. It was observation. Like he was assessing a situation. Not reacting to it. You are outnumbered 12-1, Lyra continued. Their ships are heavily armed. We cannot even damage them. Another pause. Longer this time. As if he was looking at something she couldn't see. Understood, he said finally. And then, I'll handle it. The bridge went completely silent. Orin blinked. What? Lyra's breath caught. Captain, you don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly, Vaughn interrupted. Still calm. Still controlled. But now, there was something else in his voice. Something colder. Stay where you are, he said. Don't power down. Don't move. A beat. Then, just watch. Before Lyra could respond, the channel cut. Immediately replaced by a system-wide broadcast. The human ship was now transmitting on all frequencies. Every vessel in the area could hear it. Including the Dravari. The voice came again. Clear. Unshaken. Dravari fleet, Vaughn said. This is Captain Elias Vaughn of Earth. A pause. You are engaging a protected diplomatic convoy in neutral space. Another pause. Slightly longer. I'm going to give you one chance to walk away. On the Dravari flagship, the commander's image flickered back onto the Illyrian screens. At first, he looked confused. Then, amused. The corner of his mouth lifted. A human, he said slowly. In a cargo vessel. A low chuckle escaped him. You are either very brave or very stupid. No, Vaughn replied instantly. I'm just the only one here who understands how this ends. The smile faded. Just slightly. The Dravari commander leaned forward. You are one ship. His voice hardened. We are 12. A beat. Simple mathematics. There was silence for half a second. Then, Vaughn spoke again. And this time, even the air on the bridge seemed to change. Yeah, he said. You're right. A pause. Then, but this isn't about numbers. Another pause. Longer. Colder. This is about who survives the next 5 minutes. The Dravari commander's eyes narrowed. Something had shifted. Not much. But enough. For the first time. He wasn't entirely amused. Lyra felt it too. That same strange feeling from before. Not hope. Not yet. But something close. Something dangerous. Because the human ship was still coming forward. Not slowing. Not hesitating. Flying straight toward 12 warships. Like it didn't understand fear. Or worse. Like it didn't care. The battlefield paused. Not physically. The Dravari ships were still advancing, weapons still charged. But something invisible had shifted. Attention. Every sensor. Every targeting system. Every pair of eyes. Locked onto one small, approaching ship. The Iron Shade. It didn't maneuver defensively. Didn't attempt to evade. It just kept coming. Steady. Direct. Unbothered. On the Dravari flagship, the commander leaned back slightly in his chair, studying the incoming vessel. There was no urgency in his movements. No concern. Only curiosity. A human freighter, he said slowly, almost amused. Alone. One of his officers glanced at the readings. Captain, its speed is unusual. Everything about primitives is unusual, the commander replied dismissively. On the Serenity Dawn, Lyra felt her pulse quicken. This wasn't normal. Nothing about this was normal. Why isn't he running? Turan whispered. No one answered. Because no one understood. The communication channel flared again. The Dravari commander opened a direct line. Human, he said, voice sharp now. You are interfering in a military operation. No response. For a moment. Nothing. Then, Vaughn's voice returned. Calm as before. I told you to disengage. No anger. No raised tone. Just a statement. The commander's eyes darkened slightly. You are in a transport vessel, he said. You have no weapons that can harm us. Another pause. Then, you have no authority here. Silence. Then, Vaughn replied. You're wrong on both counts. A flicker of irritation crossed the commander's face. Around him, officers exchanged brief glances. The human wasn't reacting correctly. No fear. No hesitation. No pleading. It disrupted expectation. You misunderstand your situation, the commander said, his voice dropping lower. You are outnumbered. Outgunned. Outmatched. A beat. You are irrelevant. On the Serenity Dawn, Lyra felt the weight of those words. Because they were true. They had been true moments ago. They should still be true now. And yet, something felt off. Yeah, Vaughn said quietly. I get why you think that. A pause. Then, but here's your problem. The Dravari commander leaned forward slightly. Not consciously. Instinctively. Because something in that tone demanded attention. You're used to fighting people who follow rules, Vaughn continued. Another pause. You think this is going to play out the way it always does. Silence stretched across the channel. Then, you think I'm going to panic? The commander's jaw tightened. Just a little. You're already dead, Vaughn said. Soft. Almost conversational. But it hit harder than any shout. On the Illyrian bridge. No one moved. No one breathed. Even Orin felt it. That shift. That invisible pressure. Like the moment before something breaks. The commander's expression hardened completely now. You dare. I gave you a chance, Vaughn interrupted. Still calm. Still controlled. I told you to walk away. A pause. You decided not to. Another pause. Slightly longer. And now you're committed. The Dravari commander stood. Slowly. Deliberately. You are one ship, he said again, but this time. There was something beneath the words. Not doubt. Not fear. But, irritation. You will be destroyed. Probably, Vaughn replied. Instantly. No hesitation. That response hit differently. It didn't fit. It wasn't defiance. It wasn't denial. It was acceptance. And that made it worse. Then why are you still here? The commander demanded. A beat. A single breath. Then, Vaughn answered. Because you made a mistake. Silence. Absolute. You think this is a fight, he continued. It's not. Another pause. Colder now. This is a lesson. On the Serenity Dawn, Lyra felt her chest tighten. Every instinct told her something was about to happen. Something irreversible. The Dravari commander's eyes narrowed to slits. Enough, he snapped. His hand moved. Destroy the human ship. Instantly. 2 warships broke formation. Weapons charging. Energy building along their cannons, glowing brighter with each passing second. Target lock engaged. The void lit up with crimson light. On the Illyrian bridge. Turan whispered. He's dead. Lyra didn't respond. Because she couldn't look away. The iron shade did not turn, did not accelerate, did not attempt to escape. It just kept coming, straight toward the incoming fire. Like it didn't recognize danger. Or worse, like it welcomed it. The Dravari cannons fired. Twin beams of concentrated energy tore through space. Fast enough to cross the distance in seconds. Certain destruction. Certain end. And in that final moment, just before impact, Captain Elias Vaughn spoke one last time. Quiet. Unshaken. You had your chance. The beams hit. Light consumed everything. The screen flared white. Blinding. Overwhelming. Final. And then, the light faded. Slowly. Piece by piece. The battlefield came back into view. The Dravari ships held position. The Illyrian vessel trembled. Debris drifted through space. But the human ship, the Iron Shade, was gone. For half a second. Everyone believed it. That it was over. That it had been pointless. That the human had been nothing more than a distraction. A mistake. Lyra felt something sink inside her chest. That fragile, dangerous feeling. Gone. Extinguished. But then, Turan's voice broke the silence. Shaking. Confused. Impossible. No. Lyra turned sharply. What is it? His eyes were locked on the sensor display. Wide. Unblinking. He's not gone. A beat. Then, he moved. The display shifted. Recalculating. Tracking. And then, a new position appeared. Behind the Dravari ships. Closer. Much closer. Lyra's breath caught. How? Turan didn't answer. Because he couldn't. No ship should have been able to move like that. No ship should have survived that. And yet, the Iron Shade was still there. And now, it was doing something else. Something impossible. Its outer hull was changing. For a fraction of a second. No one understood what they were seeing. The Iron Shade hung in space behind the Dravari formation, perfectly still. Untouched. Unbroken. Impossible. How did he, Orin started. I don't know, Turan said, almost breathless. He moved before the impact, like he predicted the shot. Lyra stared at the display. No. Not predicted. Anticipated. Like he had already fought this battle. 100 times in his head. Tracking his movement, Turan continued. That maneuver, it wasn't a dodge. It was a reposition. A chill ran through the bridge. Reposition. Not escape. Not survival. Intent. Behind them, the Dravari ships began to turn. Slowly at first. Then faster. Weapons reorienting. Targeting systems scrambling to reacquire. For the first time. Their formation broke. Captain, one of the Dravari officers said over the intercepted channel. The human vessel. I see it, the commander snapped. But his voice had changed. Just slightly. That absolute certainty from before wasn't as solid anymore. The Iron Shade drifted forward. Not aggressively. Not hurried. Just controlled. Then, it began. At first, it was subtle. Panels along the ship's hull shifted. Sliding. Separating. Like something waking up. Lyra leaned closer. What is it doing? Turan's hands flew across the console. I'm reading structural reconfiguration. This isn't damage, it's intentional. More panels peeled away. Not falling. Retracting. Beneath the worn, scarred outer shell. Something else was hidden. Something darker. Sleeker. Deadlier. The grey plating split apart in clean lines, folding back into the body of the ship like layers being stripped away. And underneath, the truth emerged. The real hull was nothing like the cargo shell. It was sharp. Angular. Built with purpose. Weapons systems unfolded from hidden compartments. Long, precise rail assemblies sliding into position along the spine of the vessel. Missile ports opened in symmetrical rows. Energy signatures spiked. Far beyond anything a freighter should produce. No, Turan whispered. That's not possible. Lyra's voice was quieter. It was never a cargo ship. The words settled like gravity. On the Dravari flagship. Silence. For the first time. Real silence. What are those readings? One officer demanded. Power output increasing, rapidly. How? Another said. That mass, those systems. It's compressed architecture, a third voice cut in. Military grade, no, beyond military grade. The commander stared at the screen. Not amused anymore. Not confident. Focused. Analyzing. The iron shade completed its transformation. The last of the outer shell locked into place, revealing the ship's true form. Compact. Predatory. Every line designed for one thing. Combat efficiency. Its engines flared. But not like before. This time, the energy burned brighter. Hotter. More controlled. The surrounding space itself seemed to ripple under the output. On the Illyrian bridge. No one spoke. Because there was nothing to say. They were witnessing something they did not understand. Something they had never seen before. Something dangerous. The communication channel opened again. No request. No signal warning. Just Vaughn's voice. This is your last update, he said. Calm. Unchanged. But now, there was weight behind it. You're not fighting a transport. A pause. You're fighting me. The Dravari commander's jaw tightened. Destroy it, he ordered. No hesitation this time. No arrogance. Just urgency. All 12 ships turned. Weapons charging at once. A full barrage. The void lit up again. Brighter than before. Deadlier. Final. Ambassador, Orin said under his breath. If he stays there. Lyra didn't answer. She couldn't. Because she was watching the human ship. And something about it was wrong. It wasn't preparing to run. It wasn't bracing for impact. It was waiting. The Dravari fleet fired. All at once. 12 beams of concentrated destruction surged forward, filling space with blinding light. And in that exact moment, the iron shade moved. Not away. Not back. Forward. It surged directly into the storm of fire. Faster than before. Faster than anything they had recorded. The beams passed through empty space behind it. Missing by fractions of a second. Impossible. Turan shouted. The ship twisted. Rolled. Cut through the incoming fire like it wasn't there. No wasted motion. No hesitation. Every movement precise. Calculated. Perfect. The distance closed instantly. The iron shade was no longer a distant threat. It was inside their formation. Inside their control zone. Inside their mistake. And then, it fired. Not energy beams. Not light. But something else. Something older. More brutal. Railguns. The weapons discharged with a silent flash. Projectiles moving too fast to see. One of the Dravari ships jerked violently. Its shields flickered. Collapsed. And then, its hull ruptured. Explosions tore through its core. A chain reaction. The ship broke apart from the inside out. Gone. In less than a second. On the Illyrian bridge. No one breathed. On the Dravari flagship. No one spoke. Because now, they understood. This was not a fight. This was a mistake they could not undo. And the human was just getting started. The battlefield changed in an instant. What had been a controlled hunt became chaos. Ship destroyed, a Dravari officer shouted. Hunter 7 is gone. The commander didn't respond. He was watching. Analyzing. Because the human ship wasn't just attacking. It was moving with intent. The iron shade cut through the formation like a blade, its engines flaring in short, controlled bursts. It didn't stay still long enough to be targeted. It didn't need to. Track it, the commander snapped. We can't lock it. came the reply. It's changing vectors too fast. Another Dravari ship fired. Too slow. The beam passed through empty space. The iron shade had already shifted position. Not randomly. Not erratically. Deliberately. It weaved between firing lines, forcing the Dravari ships to adjust their angles, forcing them to risk hitting each other. Spread out, the commander ordered. Box it in. The fleet obeyed. Ships broke formation, expanding outward in a wide arc. Smart. But not enough. On the Illyrian bridge, Turan's voice shook with disbelief. He's controlling the battlefield. Lyra didn't answer. She was starting to understand. The human wasn't reacting to the fight. He was designing it. The iron shade darted toward a drifting mass of debris, the shattered remains of one of the escort ships. Twisted metal. Floating wreckage. Visual interference. Why's he going in there? Orin asked. Turan's eyes widened. Cover. The human ship vanished into the debris field. Instantly, Dravari targeting system struggled. Signal interference, one officer reported. We're locking onto fragments. Flush the area, the commander snapped. Energy beams rained into the debris cloud, tearing it apart. But the human ship was already moving. It emerged from the opposite side. Firing. A second Dravari ship took the hit. Railgun rounds punched through its engines. The vessel lurched. Power failing. Then exploded in a violent chain reaction. 2 ships down. Turan shouted. The Dravari fleet hesitated. Just for a moment. And that moment cost them. The iron shade accelerated again. But this time, not away. Through them. It slipped between 2 warships, so close their hulls nearly touched it. Fire, one captain ordered. But they couldn't. Not without risking each other. The hesitation lasted half a second. Enough. The human ship rolled. Fired. And both Dravari vessels took direct hits to critical systems. One lost its weapons. The other. Its reactor. A burst of light consumed it. 3 ships destroyed. 9 remaining. On the Dravari flagship. The commander's calm was gone. This is not possible, one officer said. No, the commander replied quietly. It is. And that was worse. Because now. He understood. This human is not fighting us, he said. A pause. He's dismantling us. Another explosion lit the void. A 4th ship crippled. Drifting. The iron shade didn't chase it. Didn't finish it. It moved on. Always moving. Always choosing the next target. The next weakness. On the Illyrian bridge. Lyra's heart pounded. She had never seen anything like this. This wasn't strength. This wasn't brute force. This was precision violence. He's not wasting energy, Turan said. Every shot, every movement, it's optimized. Orin stared at the display. He's not fighting like a soldier. Lyra whispered. He's fighting like he's done this his entire life. The Dravari adapted. Deploy gravity snares, the commander ordered. Devices launched from multiple ships. Small, dark spheres spreading across the battlefield. They're trying to trap him, Turan said. The spheres activated. Warping space around them. Invisible distortions. Deadly. Any ship caught inside. Crushed. The iron shade was heading straight toward one. Ambassador, Orin started. But Lyra didn't speak. She watched. Because now. She knew. This wasn't a mistake. At the last possible second. The human ship fired. Not at the enemy. At the mine. The projectile struck. Triggered it. The distortion field snapped into existence. But not where expected. A Dravari ship, chasing too closely, was caught inside. Its hull bent inward. Compressed. Crushed into nothing. Gone. Silence. On both sides. 5 ships destroyed, Turan whispered. 7 remaining. The Dravari fleet pulled back slightly. Not retreating. But no longer advancing. For the first time. They were reacting. The commander clenched his fists. He's using our weapons against us. The realization hit hard. Because it meant one thing. They weren't just outmatched. They were being outplayed. Another Dravari ship broke formation, trying to flank. The Iron Shade slowed. Just slightly. Inviting it. The enemy accelerated. Closing the gap. Weapons charging. Ready to fire point blank. At the last moment, the human ship cut engines. Drifted. Turned. And fired backward. The railgun shot punched straight through the Dravari ship's command section. It went dark instantly. No explosion. No warning. Just. Dead. 6 ships destroyed. 6 remaining. The battlefield fell into a strange rhythm. Attack. Dodge. Trap. Destroy. Repeat. And through it all, the human ship never stopped moving. Never hesitated. Never panicked. On the Illyrian bridge, no one spoke anymore. Because they were watching something beyond war. Something beyond strategy. They were watching a predator. And for the first time since the battle began, Lyra felt something she hadn't felt before. Not fear. Not despair. Something stronger. Something rising. Hope. Because the impossible was happening. And the Dravari were starting to lose. The battle didn't slow. But something changed. The Dravari were no longer attacking with confidence. They were reacting. Hesitating. Making mistakes. And the human was exploiting every single one. 6 ships remaining, Turin whispered. But they're pulling back, trying to regroup. On the display, the Dravari formation shifted again. Tighter this time, more defensive. They weren't hunting anymore. They were trying to survive. On the Serenity Dawn, Lyra felt it clearly now. The balance had flipped. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. Because the human ship was taking damage. Energy spikes across his hull, Turin said. Shields are fluctuating. He's not going to last if this continues. As if answering, the communication channel opened. Vaughn's voice returned. Still calm. But now. Closer. Ambassador. Lyra stepped forward immediately. I'm here. I need you to listen carefully, he said. We're not winning this alone. Her chest tightened. What do you need? A brief pause. Then. I need you to fight. Silence. Not shock. Not confusion. Something deeper. Because those words didn't belong to her world. Captain, she said slowly. We are not. I know, Vaughn cut in. Not harsh. Just direct. You're not soldiers. You're not trained for this. Another pause. But neither was I, once. Lyra frowned slightly. What are you saying? I'm saying, Vaughn replied, that survival doesn't care what you were trained for. Outside, the Iron Shade rolled sharply, narrowly avoiding another volley of fire. It returned a burst of railgun shots, disabling another Dravari ship's weapon systems. He's still fighting while talking, Orin muttered. Lyra ignored him. Her focus stayed on the voice. My people don't fight, she said quietly. You do now, Vaughn answered. No hesitation. No doubt. Because if you don't, this ends one way. A beat. And you already know how that ends. Lyra closed her eyes briefly. She did know. They all did. Another explosion lit the void. A Dravari ship. Crippled. 5 remaining. The human ship drifted slightly. Just enough to reposition. Just enough to keep control. You're waiting for someone to save you, Vaughn continued. A pause. But no one's coming. The words hit harder than before. Because they were true. They're stronger than us, Lyra said. We can't even damage their ships. Then don't fight them directly, Vaughn replied. Another pause. Fight smarter. Lyra opened her eyes. What does that mean? It means, he said, you stop thinking like victims. The bridge went still. Because that word cut deep. Outside, the Iron Shade dove beneath a damaged Dravari ship, using its drifting mass as cover. Enemy fire struck the wreck instead, scattering debris in all directions. "Look at what I'm doing," Vaughn said. "I'm not stronger than them." Another pause. "I'm just using everything they ignore." Turin's eyes widened. The debris, the mines, their own formations. "Yes," Vaughn said. "Everything is a weapon." Lyra stared at the battlefield. For the first time. Not as a victim. But as an observer. A learner. "What can we do?" she asked. This time. Her voice didn't tremble. Vaughn answered instantly. "Your ship has a reactor." Orin stiffened. "Yes, but..." "You can overload it," Vaughn continued. The words hit like a shock. "That would destroy us," Orin said. "Not if you control it," Vaughn replied. "A beat. Listen carefully." Outside, the battle intensified again. The remaining Dravari ships regrouped, firing in coordinated bursts, trying to overwhelm the human ship through sheer volume. The iron shade twisted through the storm. But this time, it took a hit. A direct one. The hull flared. Energy surged. His shields just dropped. Turin shouted. Lyra's heart skipped. "Captain." "I'm fine," Vaughn said immediately. Still calm. Still steady. But faster now. Focused. "We don't have much time," he continued. "So here's what you're going to do." The bridge leaned in. Every word mattered. "You're going to route all remaining power to your core reactor." Orin's hands hovered over the controls. "That will destabilize the entire system." "Exactly," Vaughn said. A pause. "Then you're going to release it." Lyra's breath caught. "Release what?" "The energy," he said. "Not as an explosion." Another pause. "As a pulse." Turin's eyes widened. "An electromagnetic shockwave." "Yes," Vaughn confirmed. "It'll fry their systems. Sensors, targeting, shields." Orin looked at Lyra. "That's possible." A beat. "But if we get the timing wrong?" "We die anyway," Lyra finished quietly. Silence. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was shifting, changing, because something inside her was changing too. Outside, the iron shade fired again, crippling another Dravari ship. 4 remaining. "Ambassador," Vaughn said. His voice softened slightly. "Not weaker. Just human. You don't need to be warriors." A pause. "You just need to refuse to lose." Lyra looked around her bridge. At her crew. Their faces. Their fear. Their hope. Their trust. They weren't soldiers. They never had been. But they were still here. Still alive. Still fighting. In their own way. And maybe that was enough. Her voice came steady. Clear. Strong. "Captain Orin." He met her gaze. "Yes, Ambassador." "Prepare the reactor." A beat. Then, "Yes." The crew moved. Faster now. Not panicked. Focused. Purposeful. Outside, the human ship surged forward again. Damaged. Outnumbered. Still fighting. And now, not alone. The Serenity Dawn came alive. Not with elegance. Not with peace. But with urgency. "Routing all power to core reactor," Orin called out. "Stability dropping, 30% and falling." "Containment field holding," Turin added, fingers flying across the console. But not for long. The soft, serene hum of the ship had changed. Now it pulsed. Uneven. Dangerous. Like a heartbeat under stress. Lyra stood at the center of it all, watching as her crew, diplomats, engineers, scientists, moved with a focus she had never seen before. They weren't trained for war. But they were learning. Fast. Outside, the battle raged on. 4 Dravari ships remained. And they were adapting. "Human vessel is damaged," one of the intercepted voices reported. "Its shields are down. Concentrate fire." Multiple ships turned toward the iron shade, their weapons charging in synchronized bursts. "They're focusing him," Turin said. Lyra's chest tightened. On the display, the human ship twisted sharply, dodging one beam. But another clipped its side. A burst of energy tore across its hull. The ship spun. Stabilized. Kept moving. His armor is holding, Turan said. Barely. Vaughn's voice cut in. Status. Reactor charging, Orin replied. We're close, but we only get one shot. Make it count, Vaughn said. Another explosion lit the void. One of the remaining Dravari ships launched a spread of missiles. Fast. Tracking. Unavoidable. They've got a lock on him. Turan shouted. Lyra stepped forward instinctively. Captain. I see them, Vaughn replied. No panic. No hesitation. The iron shade accelerated. Straight toward the incoming missiles. What is he doing? Orin demanded. At the last second. The ship split its trajectory. A sharp lateral burst. Cutting between the missiles. Then. It fired. Not at the ships. At the missiles themselves. The explosions chained together. Triggering early. Blinding the sensors of the Dravari fleet. He's using their own attack as cover, Turan said, stunned. Through the explosion. The iron shade vanished. Again. Where is he? A Dravari officer shouted over the intercepted channel. Then. He reappeared. Above them. Firing. Railgun rounds tore into the upper hull of one ship, punching through its command systems. The vessel went dark instantly. 3 ships remaining. But the human ship was slowing. Engine output dropping, Turan said. He's pushing it too hard. Lyra clenched her fists. Captain Vaughn. I know, he said quietly. A pause. Then. That's why we finish this now. On the Serenity Dawn, alarms began to rise. Louder. Sharper. Reactor instability critical. Orin called out. We're at maximum threshold. Energy surged through the ship's core. Visible now. A bright, pulsing glow at the heart of the vessel. Containment field at 15%. Turan shouted. Lyra felt the vibration beneath her feet. This wasn't a weapon. It was barely under control. Ambassador, Orin said. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Lyra stepped forward. Her voice steady. Do it. A beat. Orin nodded. On your command, Captain Vaughn. Outside. The iron shade made one final pass through the battlefield. Not attacking. Positioning. Drawing the remaining Dravari ships closer. Tighter. Clustered. They're chasing him, Turan said. Good, Vaughn replied. Another hit struck the human ship. Hard. A panel tore away. Sparks flared across its hull. His structural integrity is failing. Turan warned. Lyra's breath caught. Captain. Stay focused, Vaughn said. Still calm. But now. There was strain beneath it. Not fear. Just pressure. Ambassador, he continued. You're going to get one clean shot at this. Lyra nodded. We're ready. The 3 remaining Dravari ships closed in. Tight formation. Weapons charging for a final strike. They had learned. They weren't spreading out anymore. They weren't giving him space. They were ending it. Now, Vaughn said. Orin's hand slammed down. Containment field, release. For a split second. Nothing happened. Then. Everything did. A wave of pure energy erupted from the Serenity Dawn. Not an explosion. A pulse. Blinding. Expanding outward in a perfect sphere. It hit the Dravari ships instantly. Their shields flickered. Collapsed. Systems overloaded. Targeting arrays died. The entire formation went dark. They're offline. Turan shouted. All 3. Lyra felt a surge of something powerful. Not relief. Not yet. But close. Captain, now, she called. The iron shade didn't hesitate. It surged forward. Straight into the disabled formation. Weapons firing. Precise. Relentless. The first ship. Destroyed instantly. The second. crippled beyond recovery. The third tried to recover, tried to move. Too slow, too late. A final railgun shot tore through its reactor. And then there was silence. The battlefield went still. No more incoming fire. No more movement. Just drifting wreckage. And one damaged human ship, hovering in the center of it all. On the Serenity Dawn. No one spoke. Because they couldn't believe it. They had done it. They had survived. But then, Turin's voice broke the silence. Ambassador. Something was wrong. Lyra turned. What is it? He looked up. Face pale. His ship. A pause. It's not going to hold.